Hook, have you ever had one of those days when your entire life gets flipped upside down by someone who doesn't even know the truth? Imagine standing in your own home, the place you've worked years to build, only to have a stranger show up, call the police on you, and demand you leave. Now imagine that stranger being the one who ends up in handcuffs, arrested by the very person she tried to destroy. This isn't just a story about a Karen gone too far. It's about justice, resilience, and what happens when you refuse to let lies steal your dignity. I had just finished a 14-hour shift at the precinct. My badge, my service, my whole career. It wasn't just a job, it was who I was. I had spent years on the force, earning the respect of my peers, serving a community that wasn't always easy to serve. That night, I just wanted peace. My small, 2-bedroom townhouse wasn't much, but it was mine. My father left it to me before he passed, and every corner held memories of him. The creak in the stairs, the smell of old oak from the banister. These weren't flaws, they were reminders of family. But peace didn't last long. At 9:14 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was my neighbor texting. Some woman is outside yelling that she's calling 911 on you. Something about you squatting in your own house. I thought it was a mistake, a prank, until I heard the sirens. I stepped outside and saw her. Mid-50s, designer bag on one arm, her phone still pressed to her ear, as she barked into the receiver. She didn't look at me as a neighbor would, but as though I was an intruder. Her words cut through the night. "This man is trespassing! He's not supposed to be here! He's refusing to leave!" For a moment, I froze. Not out of fear but disbelief. My own home, and someone had the audacity to try and rip it from me with a single phone call. When the responding officers arrived, I recognized them. People I had worked alongside, trained with, bled beside. They looked at me with confusion, torn between duty and disbelief. I calmly handed them my ID, my deed, and finally, my badge. The silence that followed was heavy. Karen's confident smirk faltered. She had no idea who she was dealing with. But still, anger bubbled inside me. Not the kind of anger that lashes out, but the kind that twists in your gut, when someone tries to erase your story, your blood, your roots. I could have had her cited for filing a false report then and there, but part of me wanted to understand why. Why target me? What I discovered was bigger than one phone call. Karen wasn't just a nosy neighbor. She had been circling the block for weeks, trying to intimidate homeowners, scare them off, and scoop up properties on the cheap for her own gain. And I was her latest target. But she picked the wrong one. The next day, I didn't show up in uniform. I showed up in plain clothes, blending in, watching, waiting. Karen strutted around the neighborhood like she owned it, bragging to anyone who'd listen about how she was cleaning up the block. I kept my distance, but I documented everything. The threats she muttered to my elderly neighbor, the way she peered through people's windows, the flyers she left claiming certain houses were vacant. She wasn't just nosy. She was dangerous. A week later it happened again. Karen returned to my doorstep, this time with a locksmith in tow, insisting she had the right to change the locks, because I wasn't supposed to be there. The locksmith hesitated, sensing something was off. But Karen was relentless. That was my moment. I stepped outside, calm and steady, my badge glinting in the afternoon sun. The locksmith's eyes widened, Karen's narrowed. "Karen," I said evenly, "you've crossed the line. You didn't just lie. You weaponized the system against innocent people." Her bravado cracked. You can't arrest me." I was just trying to. She could see it in my eyes. This wasn't a neighborly dispute anymore. This was justice. I read her rights as her face turned pale, the same mouth that had screamed false accusations now silent, under the weight of her own lies. The neighborhood gathered. People who had been quiet out of fear now clapped, some even cried. My elderly neighbor, Mrs. Ramirez, whispered. Finally, someone stood up to her. Karen was charged with filing false police reports, harassment, and attempted fraud. But the real victory wasn't in the courtroom, it was in the community. People started talking to each other again. Fear lifted. And me, I learned something powerful. Sometimes the fight isn't about proving who owns a house. It's about reminding people that truth, no matter how loudly it's challenged, doesn't need permission to stand tall. Final message: Karen thought she could steal my home with a phone call. What she didn't realize was that walls and roofs don't make a home. Truth does, family does, and courage does. And when you hold on to those, no one, not even the loudest liar, can evict you from your place in this world.